Hello again everybody, and a very warm welcome back to the channel. Today we're having a look at the new Black Square Steam Gauge Overhaul Analog Bonanza coming soon to Microsoft Flight Simulator. Another one of their fantastic products, enhancing the experience of some of the smaller aircraft in msfs, and it's going to be available on the JustFlight website. We're going to have a look today for a very short flight out of Westport in New Zealand, one of the included airports of the New Zealand World Update. I'm going to be having a little look at some of the features, sharing my thoughts with you guys, and as always all the links will be in the description down below if you want to look further into it. I'm really interested to hear what you guys have to think as well, so share your thoughts down in the comments below. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe as well if you're new to the channel, joining us for the first time perhaps. The system, the add-on pack for the Steam Gauge Overhaul Bonanza, includes an extensive manual complete with systems guides, all the operating limitations, electrical schematics, checklists and tutorials as well, like we enjoyed with the King Air. There are also several aircraft included in the package. There are 3 that I can see in the hangar at the moment. One is a turbocharged version with tip tanks, which we have today. There's another version without the tip tanks, and there's an additional configuration as well, a 3rd aircraft included in the pack too. So there are 3 Black Square Bonanzas that you'll have in the hangar upon release if you purchase it. As before, like the King Air, there's a hot swappable radio stack with switches on the right hand side of the panel. We'll have a look at those. Custom coded radios with frequency memory and state saving for those as well, so it will remember the radio stack that you last selected for the next time you fly. And as we've come to expect from the folks at Black Square, over 80 random or scheduled failures available from an in-panel interface, including engine damage as well. Currently, this is going to be the most advanced turbocharger simulation in Microsoft Flight Simulator, so you don't need to adjust the mixture before reaching critical altitude. There is a display in here that we're going to look at in a little bit more detail that tells you in cruise, once you've leveled off, how to lean the mixture perfectly. And it's all part of the system integration, the depth of simulation offered with this analog Black Square Overhaul. There are a number of really cool features included, including the simulated circuit breaker systems, simulated carbon monoxide detection system, and then a completely simulated electrical system, environmental control system, and advanced fuel injected engine simulation as well, where you can vapor lock, you can flood, you can backfire the engine and foul it as well. So you've got to use the checklists and make good use of those for an accurate engine start. As with the King Air, you can still fly the original default aircraft. It doesn't affect that by the installation of this. It adds additional bonanzas to your hangar, but you do ideally need to have the default aircraft installed as well. As of release, it's worth pointing out too that the analog Bonanza is going to be completely compatible with the Bonanza Improvement Project, which is a freeware pack, I think, on flightsim.to. The 2 aircraft are not related to each other in any way and therefore can coexist happily. Sadly, the doors don't open on this particular model, but that is because it's a limitation of the default exterior model. Having said that though, these particular add-ons, it's all about the system depth and the immersion it offers. So let's dive in and have a little look. First thing that's worth pointing out is the interactive checklist which is included. So if you are getting started and learning the aeroplane, what you can do is press the little eye icon for it to guide you to where each item of the checklist is, to help you learn the aeroplane and learn the flows. And as with any interactive checklist that's well made, you can tick through each of the items as you go. Then the battery master on begins the electrical simulation, because we're connecting the electrical power to the aeroplane. If we left it on, we would see eventually the battery begin to diminish. You want to have 23 volts minimum. Annunciator panel, the test button is down here. The annunciator panel itself is at the top here. Currently we've got a gyro warning on. We can test it like so. We can hear the auxiliary fuel pump there on low, audible in the background. We turn it back off again in the checks. And we turn the standby gyro pump on as well. So we're going to work through all the checklists to begin to get basically start the engine from cold. And with that, we look into the beginning of the engine simulation as well at the same time. So mixture full rich, prop high RPM, throttle fully open. Auxiliary fuel pump goes onto high for 2 to 3 seconds. Looking at the fuel flow. Auxiliary fuel pump goes off. Bottle open 1/2 inch. Starter to engage. And we're going to listen to the engine start. Engine's on. Throttle. 1000 RPM. Which is where we've got it set to at the moment anyway. And there are checklists as well for hot engine start and a flooded engine start that are worth looking at too. So if you find yourself in a position where you've flooded the engine, have a look at the specific checklist for that. And then we're going to look at all of the checklists for the after start check. So we're looking at the oil pressures, making sure they're green. Start annunciator was extinguished as well. Low volts at the top extinguished. Alternator load below 25 amps in 2 minutes. And then we can turn the avionics on. There we go. Now, thinking about the different display options while we've got the engine running. Down here you've got 2 selection switches. So you've got COM1 and COM2. Currently we've got set to GTN 750. You can select GNS 530, the KX 155 as well, which gives you a much older radio stack. And COM2 you can flick between GNS 430 and the KX 155 too. So for the purpose of today, we're going to have the GNS 530 selected and GNS 430 for COM2 as well. So we've got both of those active. Down here we've got our autopilot display, weather radar up here too, and in here, if we flick through to nav, we have the engine condition, and we can repair the engine, refill the oxygen, reset any failures that may arise during the journey. And on the log selection, we can either increase the failure rate or decrease the simulated failure rate, and toggle between random and scheduled failures. And then we can go and trigger them within here too. It's really extensive, worth having a look at. They've opened the window with a really nice simulation and a change of sound too. So we're going to taxi to the runway, we're going to do some run-up checks, and then we'll go for a very short flight around the South Island of New Zealand, exploring some of its features. Mixture goes to full rich, and let's listen to some of these engine sounds as we then advance the throttle through to 1700 RPM. We're going to exercise the propeller so we get a 300 RPM drop. Check the magnetos. See the RPM drop. (150 RPM drop max). Getting about 100. Instrument air down the bottom's green. That's simulated. Primary alternator goes off. Load meter onto secondary. Prop heat on. Amps have gone up. Prop heat off. And then throttles You check the operation of the flaps, all the stages. Takeoff and landing. And then set to take off. We'll close the window. Okay, take off. Speeds of life. Having a look at the T's and P's as well, they're in the green. Crosswind for us to play with today, and we're airborne. Gear up. Feels really good actually. They have improved the aerodynamics of the aeroplane as part of the add-on pack. Bring those flaps up. Very bumpy here around New Zealand this time of year at the moment. And then autopilot. Engage. So with the autopilot system, what we can do is just navigate around using the heading mode. If we have got a route planned into either of the GPS systems or any of the GPS systems, we can go into nav. We can fly ILSs using the approach mode, we can fly back courses, all the stuff that is included in here. But we're keeping it simple for today. We are just going to be using the analog displays, heading mode, the dials, that sort of thing. We can see then how the autopilot engages with the aeroplane, interacts with it. With the flight directors in action. And the enunciator displays at the top too. En route climb, we're going to bring that the RPM back to 2500. We're leveling off now at 2000 actually, which is our cruise altitude for today. We put the landing light off. Work through the checks as we need to. And at this point we can talk about and discuss leaning the throttle, or leaning the mixture. So we're going to select lean find, and we're going to begin to bring that mixture back until we see one of them begin to flash, and it will tell us leanest. There we go. Then we're going to press and hold in the center for both, and it changes the display once more. What we're going to do now is begin to advance the mixture again until we find the richest point. And then that's basically us settled in for cruise. Throughout the journey you can monitor all of the engine systems, the electrical systems, the air conditioning as well. You can engage vertical speed mode using the autopilot if you want to do additional climbs or descents. You can arm the altitude capture as well. And you've got the two little lights here, so if the cabin temperature becomes a little bit too low, you can increase the temperature. The little blue light will illuminate. If it goes too high and it becomes too hot, the red light will illuminate, and you can reduce the temperature. Again, if you are using cabin heat, keep an eye on the carbon monoxide detector. It could be one of the failures you get in flight. As we come to expect from the folks at Black Square, it's an incredibly comprehensive package for the Bonanza. And it's also worth pointing out that the Baron is also being worked on too. And if you purchase this one, you'd then get automatically a 25% discount on the JustFlight website to purchase the Baron as an additional package too. Okay, let's have a little look at descent then. So, depending on altitudes in the descent, you might want to make sure that you have either turned on or off the oxygen systems, depending on your altitudes. And then you want to fly the approach as you would, depending on whichever airport you're flying into. Now, as you can hear, we've reduced the throttle below a certain amount, so the aeroplane's warning us that we've got our gear down at the moment. We'll wait until we're in a bit more of a limitation speed for the extension of the gear. Really good custom sounds. And then we can pop the gear into the approach setting. Not sure how this landing is going to go because ultimately it is very, very turbulent with a significant crosswind. We're going to go for full flap now as well. And there we go. So after landing checks, cowl flaps open. Flaps go up. Lights as required. Pop the nav lights off as well. Pitot heat can go off. Air conditioning as desired. And cabin heat as desired as well. And then we just go ahead and park up before working through the shutdown checks. So let's listen to some of these sounds. Bar brake set, avionics off. All sub panel switches off. Throttle closed. Prop goes on to high RPM, mixture to cut off. Magneto's off, alternators off, battery off. There we have it, an overview of the new Black Square Steam Gauge Overhaul for the Beechcraft Bonanza in Microsoft Flight Simulator. Coming very soon to the JustFlight website and the JustFlight store. An incredibly good comprehensive package, giving you a really realistic simulation of the electrical systems, the engine systems, fuel, hydraulics, all that sort of thing within the aeroplane. And a really nice overall, well polished Aware add-on to add to the sim too. Hope you guys have enjoyed the video. Share your thoughts in the comments below. All the links as before will be in the description down below for the video, and I hope to see you join me in a live stream very soon. But in the meantime, as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you soon. Take care.